You know those celebrity gossip stories that make you gasp for a second before you keep scrolling? Now imagine one of those headlines, but instead of a breakup, wardrobe malfunction, or messy Instagram rant, it's about someone losing their life. That's when everything changes. It's not just drama anymore. It's tragedy, it's legal trouble, and it's the kind of headline that follows you forever. Today we're talking about 5 famous names, all connected to incidents where someone died. And while the outcomes of these cases are all different, one thing's for sure: fame doesn't stop life from taking a sudden, devastating turn. Let's start with Brandy Norwood. Back in 2006, the singer and actress best known for hits like The Boy Is Mine and her role in Moesha was driving on the 405 freeway in Los Angeles when traffic slowed suddenly. Brandy's car struck another vehicle from behind, causing a chain reaction involving multiple cars. Tragically, the driver of the car she hit, a 38-year-old woman named Awatef Abudihaj, died the next day from her injuries. Investigators determined Brandy wasn't under the influence and hadn't been using her phone at the time, but she was still found at fault for the crash. No criminal charges were filed, but several lawsuits were brought against her, which she eventually settled. For Brandy, it was a heartbreaking incident that she later called one of the most difficult periods of her life. And it's one of those moments that, despite being an accident, changed everything. Next, Caitlyn Jenner, known to the world for decades as Olympic champion Bruce Jenner before her transition in 2015, was involved in a fatal car accident that same year. It happened on the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu, a stretch of road that's beautiful but notoriously dangerous. Multiple cars were involved, and the collision led to the death of 69-year-old Kimberly Howe. Authorities investigated for months, looking at everything from speed to cell phone use, but ultimately decided not to file criminal charges. Caitlyn maintained that it was a tragic accident, and while she later settled civil lawsuits with the victim's family, the public scrutiny was intense. It came at a time when Caitlyn's personal life was already making headlines worldwide, and the incident became an uncomfortable overlap of personal tragedy and tabloid frenzy. Switching to the world of hip-hop, we've got Snoop Dogg. In 1993, the rapper, who was just breaking into mainstream success at the time, was charged with murder in connection to the death of Philip Mariam, a member of a rival gang. The shooting happened near Snoop's apartment in Los Angeles, and his bodyguard, McKinley Lee, admitted to firing the gun, but claimed it was in self-defense.
You really can't say you ain't never seen nobody just get shot in the head, pow, and you right there watching. You can't say that, but I can. You understand what I'm saying?
Snoop and Lee both went on trial in 1995, and the proceedings were highly publicized, with Snoop even referencing the case in his music. After months in court, both men were acquitted of all charges. Snoop has since said that the experience shaped him, making him more cautious about the people around him and the situations he puts himself in. But for a while, his career hung in the balance, and the possibility of a very different future was very real. Now, let's go back to the late 1980s with Matthew Broderick. You might know him as Ferris Bueller. But in 1987, he made headlines while on vacation in Northern Ireland with his then-girlfriend, actress Jennifer Grey. Matthew was driving on a country road when his car collided head-on with another vehicle. Tragically, both occupants of the other car, a mother and daughter, were killed instantly. Matthew suffered a broken leg and other injuries, while Jennifer reportedly had minor injuries. Local authorities said Matthew had been driving on the wrong side of the road, but after investigation, he was charged only with careless driving and fined the equivalent of about $175. The decision sparked outrage from some who felt the punishment didn't match the severity of the accident's outcome. Broderick has rarely spoken about it publicly, but for those who know the story, it's a reminder of how one moment behind the wheel can change lives forever. Finally, let's talk about Don King, the legendary boxing promoter known for his flashy hair, his colorful personality, and his knack for turning fights into global events. Long before he was working with champions like Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, Don King had a very different reputation. In the 1960s, King was involved in two separate incidents where men died. The first was ruled self-defense after he shot a man who was trying to rob one of his gambling operations. But the second case was very different. In 1967, King was convicted of voluntary manslaughter for beating a man named Sam Garrett to death over a $600 debt. Witnesses said King kicked and stomped Garrett repeatedly. He served less than 4 years in prison before being released and reinventing himself in the boxing world. It's one of those stories that sounds almost fictional. The idea that someone could go from a manslaughter conviction to becoming one of the most famous sports promoters in history. But that's exactly what happened. All of these stories are different. Some were tragic accidents, some were violent confrontations, and some were moments that could have been avoided. The legal outcomes range from no charges to convictions and prison time. But what they all have in common is the reminder that celebrity doesn't shield you from tragedy, from consequences, or from the weight of being involved in someone's death. For the people left behind, the families, the friends, these cases aren't just headlines. They're life-changing losses that don't fade when the news cycle moves on. And that's why stories like these stick with us. They show us a side of fame that's rarely part of the glossy magazine covers or the red carpet interviews. It's messy, it's complicated, and in some cases it's a part of history that fans either don't know about or don't want to believe. If you found this video eye-opening, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We've got more stories, some shocking, some bizarre, all worth hearing, that pull back the curtain on the world of celebrity. You're watching Darkest Lens, where we tell the stories fame can't hide.